Hi everyone, it's Pauline here at Zentail with another Ask the Experts edition. Today I'm really excited to speak with Adrienne McNicholas. She is the CEO and co-founder of Food Huggers. Adrienne, great to have you on. Good to see you.
It's great to have me. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, we came across you and I was so excited. I love your product. I'm like a believer through and through. But for those who are watching who may not know, can you just give us like a quick overview of your product and kind of some of your background?
Sure. The product is the beginning of the company is the namesake product, Food Huggers. And Food Huggers are silicone covers that you can put on a half lemon or half tomato, half onion. We've all had that where you use a little bit of a fruit and vegetable, you slice off some cucumber or onion, and then you've got the rest of it that you want to save and keep fresh. And some people throw them in plastic baggies, but that creates a lot of single-use plastic waste, or they wrap it in plastic wrap. So we wanted to have an option that like kept the fruit veggie fresh that you could reuse and just use over and over and over again. And so we created the Food Huggers, and they're just silicone covers, and it's a patented fit so that when you push your little fruit or veggie inside, it folds itself down just enough to hug, call it the hug, to hug the fruit or vegetable enough and keep it safe, and you put it away in the fridge for when you need it next.
So smart, so smart. So, I can imagine, again, I use this all the time, so I get it. But I guess, what was your inspiration? What was your aha moment to, my guess, is turn this like frustrating experience into a solution for the world?
The real aha moment was, we'd been working on different variations, myself and my partner, Michelle, and we had been working on ideas, and a lot of things were like, a container for the entire half. So if you have a half lemon, it's something that would hold that entire half lemon. And the challenge is you want to prevent a lot of air being exposed to the piece of fruit or vegetable. You want to contain all the moisture. And then as we were trying to minimize how much air circulation was happening around the fruit or veggie, we realized actually we only need to protect the part where the skin has been removed. And we sort of realized that long before we got here, Mother Nature had designed a really great cover for this fruit and vegetable, which was its peel. So all we needed to do was cover the side that had been cut. And once we got to that sort of aha, then it was a fairly quick process for us to figure out how to get something that would fit and adjust. So, it's not like it was effortless. It took a lot of thinking and testing.
Yeah. So what was that iterative process for you?
Iterative process. I think a big part of it is, and a lot of credit for this goes to my co-founder, Michelle, was figuring out how to get the piece to adjust itself, because tomatoes come in every shape you could possibly imagine. So do lemons, so do onions. Like, you really need to have something that yields to fit exactly whatever's being put inside. So we were lucky that we did a round of prototypes, and we thought, okay, we could do a little bit better than this. We can adjust this a little bit. And then we did another variation, and that was pretty much the version that we patented and got the patent for.
Wow, that is incredible. So I guess like with testing and all of that, your patent went through and it just proved again how it hugs it and just removes the air. Very cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's the way that it fits onto the fruit or vegetable that is the patent and the utility patent.
Nice. Okay, so product design down. So now you have this great product, it works. How did you figure out your supply chain and find your suppliers, kind of all of that?
Well, we were also fairly fortunate that we had been doing product design and development for 10 years before that. So we were sort of familiar with the process of product design, and previous to Food Huggers had actually been a product development team for hire, both as individuals and together. So we had experience with manufacturing, and we were also quite fortunate that there was a factory we had worked with in the past, and we had several years of relationship already with this factory that ended up doing the production for the Food Huggers. And so we had a factory that we could trust right out of the gate. And that's a blessing. That's a huge head start, and that was a real blessing for us.
A definite gift of experience there.
Yes. Yeah. It helped a lot that it was not our first rodeo. We had been doing this for a little bit for other companies, but it was the first time we had ever taken a product to the public ourselves. With Food Huggers, when we had the invention, we were like, we really like this. This is working really well. This is exciting.
Yeah.
we had just been looking in the year previous to that at Kickstarter, and Kickstarter was just starting to take off. That was 2013.
Yeah.
And so for us, we'd always sort of been looking over the fence for the 6 months before that. It's like, well, that looks like it could be kind of fun. Like we could take a product right to the people and bypass all the gatekeepers and just put it out there and see if people like it. And so for us, it was a new experience to go to Kickstarter. And that was the first time that we had done something, and it was the beginning of the company.
Really cool. So, Kickstarter has been the starting point, launch pad really for a lot of really successful companies, brands, etc. I know that I think you have another product out there live today, but I'm curious to hear your experience about Kickstarter. In terms of funding a new business, you can go a lot of different routes. Did you look into anything other than Kickstarter? Did you try to kind of grassroots raise any funding?
No, I think when we went to Kickstarter, we were looking at it very much as the product still at that stage. We didn't quite yet realize that we were going to be a company. We were a product, and so we were looking at it through that lens when we went to Kickstarter. Yeah. And in 2013, Kickstarter was a slightly different animal than it is today. It's because of the number of successes and the size that it's grown to. There's a lot of satellite businesses now that help you succeed on Kickstarter, whereas before it was much more sort of grassroots. The whole Kickstarter experience in 2013, to me, it sort of felt almost like being a camp counselor. Like we had all these enthusiastic people, and we were chatting with them, and they were chatting with us, and it was all very person to person, which was a really enjoyable experience. It was probably the most fun I've ever had professionally, actually, was that Kickstarter campaign. It was so much fun to just be talking to people directly in the moment when we were working on it.
That is awesome to hear. That's great. Okay, so great. So you go through Kickstarter, had some solid funding, had a supplier, check, that seems good. Then you got to deliver upon everything, right? So again, you went to your supplier. That seems like that was pretty seamless. What happened from there?
Yeah,
in tons of channels, you're everywhere. I'd love to hear how you got from, I guess, 1.2 to now you're 10 steps down the line.
Well, we were very fortunate. The fulfillment wasn't too problematic. I mean, we had a bit of a learning curve on fulfillment. I mean, we had to kiss a few frogs before we got to the warehouse that we're with today. But that happens. And it was nothing tragic. It was just a matter of figuring out what we needed. And also systems and the way things are warehoused have evolved a little over the last 7 years too. So we shipping and fulfillment was okay. And then we started selling on our website. We opened up a Shopify store, and we were selling online, and we had our backers. We were very fortunate also. I think we're blessed that it was in 2013, a Kickstarter campaign was a really novel thing. Like a lot of people who backed a Kickstarter, it was still a really cool thing to tell your friends about. It's like, you know what, I did this thing and I backed this thing, and what's that? What's Kickstarter? People didn't know about it. There was a lot of word of mouth, and the people who had backed us, I think, also told their friends who told their friends, and so we got a lot of spillover that way.
That's amazing. Word of mouth. It's like the ultimate goal. Add that to start.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Can you talk through actually some of those fulfillment challenges? And I guess what were your needs? How have they changed over time? And then how do the suppliers fit or not kind of meet those demands and requirements?
Sure. One of our first challenges was because we were so small. When you're really small as a company in the very beginning, a lot of warehousing systems expect that, everything will average out in the end. So some packages you may get overcharged, some packages you may get undercharged, but if you do 1,000 packages, then you can expect a fairly smooth bell curve for how things work. If you're just starting out and you only have 100 packages, and all of a sudden 15 of them are way overpriced, or they're going international, or we just got an issue where the fulfillment end of things was both difficult to predict the expense, and it wasn't a real-time dashboard where we could see in the moment. So we were being told on the 15th of the following month, oh, hey, by the way, last month, crazy expensive for you. And that was just we're like, well, no, we need to know when things are happening. And that's when we switched to different warehousing fulfillment centers, they were a bit more focused on e-commerce fulfillment as opposed to like flash sale fulfillment or Kickstarter fulfillment. Our first fulfillment house came to us through Kickstarter. That was the other effect of the Kickstarter campaign, is when you have a Kickstarter campaign, you get contacted by people who are offering supporting services. And so we had picked one of those.
Makes sense. And then so you guys are a totally virtual company. Your staff is literally spread across the world. And so you knew that this was going to be the route for you, right? That you wouldn't have a warehouse, you wouldn't own a warehouse. You always knew that the 3PL route was right for you guys.
Yeah, I think that we always, it's funny to say that we always knew it would be like this. I think we always knew that it would not be a big headquarters somewhere with a parking lot and a receptionist. And so I think it still feels always a little bit novel to me, even now that none of us are in the same place. I mean, even just recently, for the first time, there's 2 of us in the same city in Madrid. But otherwise, everybody's in their own corner of the world, but with tools like Slack and Asana and email and Zoom and things like that, it's really easy to close that gap and to recreate that kind of face-to-face. I mean, I think everyone is very acutely aware of this right now, that you can have a lot of team atmosphere and you can do a lot of great work together, even when you're in your own locations.
Yes, cheers, agreed. We might have to come to you for a couple of notes on how to make this kind of ongoing, because I think that's where we're headed. So real quick, I believe that you guys are using ShipBob right now as your fulfillment partner.
Yes, we are.
So they've been able to help you scale, things like that. I guess, what is something that they've provided for you now that you didn't know you needed? Now you're like, oh, I can never live without this.
It's funny. I would say ShipBob has provided for us. They have some good analytics, and the dashboard is great. They also have a very helpful, like the pick fees are all standardized, like the way you can anticipate that. You don't need to worry in advance. So that's fantastic. And then we have a person that, and this is partly ShipBob being great, and this is also partly that we've grown a little, so that now we merit our own account person, which is a wonderful thing, that you can call a particular person and say, hey, can you help us with this? Or, hey, we have this question. And we do also have a secondary warehouse where when we bring things off the boat for the first time, we hold things in a special warehouse first, and then we figure out how to move it across the country from there.
Got it. Perfect. Makes sense. So it's come up a couple times already, but like you've had some good milestones along the way, it sounds like. I like something that you said earlier in terms of we were a product and not a company. And so what was that point in which you're like, we're legit, you guys, like we're a company? What was that for you?
I think a part of it was we had retailers reaching out to us who wanted to sell the product. And so we hadn't been planning on that in the Kickstarter stage. When we were on Kickstarter, we weren't picturing that we would have a warehouse and we would be selling to stores, and then they would be selling to their customers. And but it was a popular product and it does a good job. And so we got some stores saying, hey, I'd really like to carry this. And so we had to cultivate a wholesale business that would suit eco and independent stores. And we created packaging that was suitable for retail. It's a very different item. When you're selling something online, you can show a video of how it works. When it has to go out onto a store shelf and tell its own story by itself, you need to develop packaging and other ways to frame the story. And so that was probably when we became a company, is like, okay, now we've got a B2B channel, we've got a wholesale channel, we're also selling direct to consumer. So it was probably around then.
Way to go. Nice. And so what time span was that? Kickstarter was, I'm sorry, remind me, what year did you launch your first Kickstarter?
2013.
That's right, 2013, I'm sorry. So between 2013 and you're now in stores, wholesaling.
Yes.
How long of a time frame was that?
That was about 2 years, actually.
That's a busy 2 years, Adrienne.
Yeah, it was about 2 years. So, and then from the end, and we just kept going from there and selling to more and more shops.
So cool, so cool. All right, so you mentioned a couple already. You have your Shopify, you have your wholesale business. You are out on marketplaces. I've seen you in the Uncommon Book Goods catalog. You're everywhere. How did that happen? It sounds like some of it was organic. Were there any channels that you guys just outright pursued?
We pursued being on Amazon, that's for sure. And a part of that was you can't neglect it. And another part of it was knockoffs. We were knocked off. The Kickstarter was not even finished before there were listings on Alibaba for our product, using our logo, using our photographs. And so like factories were offering knockoffs of our product before we even finished the Kickstarter.
Wow.
And so for us, yeah,
it's like
it was quite something.
But no thanks.
Exactly. They keep saying it's the sincere form of flattery, but so for us, we also needed to get in. We had to roll up our sleeves and get in there and start fighting on Amazon to get the knockoffs taken down. Yes. And so that was a process for us also, that we needed to make sure, partially to protect our customers, that there weren't cheap knockoffs being offered, but also we weren't sure what the quality was of these fakes. And so we thought, okay, well, we want to really make sure that if anyone ever buys a Food Hugger, that we know for sure that it is 100% food safe, that it's FDA quality silicone, that it's been vetted through all of the standards that we vet, Prop 65, like everything, all the safety standards. And to do that, we really needed to make sure that we could clean Amazon up. And to Amazon's credit, they were very helpful with that, actually. First with the brand registry, and now with Project Zero. We did a training course on Project Zero, and now we can take things down. So if someone puts up a knockoff, we can take it down ourselves almost immediately. So it's been super helpful that way. But that was one channel we had to sort of dive into and address.
Yeah, really smart. I mean, knockoffs and counterfeits, I mean, they're a part of, unfortunately, every brand's life right now. It's good to hear that Amazon really helped you respond to that. So now that you've kind of nipped it a little bit, do you find that it's still an ongoing trend, or has it kind of hopefully calmed down?
No, it's an ongoing trend. Even this morning, I was logged into the dashboard. We use a software service that crawls Alibaba, AliExpress, DHgate, eBay, Amazon, Walmart. It goes through all of the marketplaces, and it pulls up anything that it's artificial intelligence. So anything that the robot thinks is a fake, and then we have to verify and say, yes, that's a fake. And then they petition to have it taken down. But today there was something like 142 fake avocado huggers we had to take off of DHgate, because people loaded up 10 listings in Italian, 10 listings in Spanish, 10 listings in German, 10 listings in English. And so we've got to go in there and get them all taken down.
Wow, way to go.
It's our photography. I mean, it's just sort of funny. It's like the picture that they use is like, that's my kitchen table. It feels personally violating. It's like, that's my kitchen table.
Wow, that's a crazy story. That's just like every day. It's like you got your coffee, you open your email, and you go look at knockoffs.
Yeah.
So
I mean, to be honest, it's not every day anymore. For a while, it was twice a week, but now, we sort of go in there, bundle it up, and get everything taken down.
That's good. I was gonna say, similarly attached to knockoffs, I mean, you have some pretty close competitors nowadays that look and kind of do similar things. So how are you handling that?
Well, part of it is confidence in our product. I mean, there's what we want is for people to find ways to be sustainable at home without having to reinvent how they do everything. So, I mean, our goal is to make it easy for people to adopt sustainable habits in their kitchen. And so if we do a good job of that, then we can just focus on doing a good job of that. And some people will choose to do things in different ways. Some people will choose to buy a different product. I think our product works better than other products. I mean, I wouldn't offer it otherwise. So for us, but there are competitors out there, but so far we've managed to just sort of keep focused on what we're doing and figure if we do what we do well and we offer good solutions, then that's great. And if a customer says to me, I don't use Food Huggers, I use this other thing instead, it's their kitchen. I don't feel the need to bully my way into every home. It's like if you have something you like, then good for you. I just think that there's a lot of people who would prefer not to use plastic baggies and plastic wrap and foil. They want a better alternative, and we're trying to offer that.
Absolutely. Good for you. Way to stick to your brand and stick to your guns. That is really important. So similar to kind of the conversation on Amazon, and you don't know how they are, representing the product in terms of the knockoffs, things like that, what the customer experience is. I'm curious, do you also have resellers for your brand, or it's just you? So
on Amazon,
or other
it's
places?
just us.
Okay, so
It's
that's
just us.
Like, do you,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like you necessarily have to monitor for like MAP pricing or anything like that.
No, and I think, most of our resellers have their own websites and they sell in their stores. And the other thing, I think they also appreciate that because of the existence of knockoff products and the prevalence of it, we really need to have like a zero other product policy, because that makes it possible for us to detect if there's anything amiss. And so we need to, so if anything is off, then we take it down.
Smart. So marketplaces, it's just you, but it is available at other places. So I guess, how do you handle your resellers in terms of, I guess, customer satisfaction? Again, making sure that your product delivered through them arrives nice and neat, all of that.
We have a great customer service team. So we were talking about how the team is in all different places, and we have our customer service team has people in Toronto, in Alabama, in Jamaica, in Kenya. We've just added another person in Canada. So we've got a good team of people, and we keep a close eye on orders that come in. Yeah. We've always got somebody available to hop on for a question. And I think that because we value our customers so much, that if they need something, we want to give it to them. And so we make sure that things ship on time, and we make sure that if there's a problem, that people know ahead of time. We never try to like hide that there's a problem coming ahead. It's like, if there's a bump ahead in the road, we'll just tell all the passengers on the bus. It's like, okay, there's going to be a little bump and here's the solution. And so good communication and great support from the team.
Very good. Two things. One, if you ever need to open up like a Hawaii office, I'll go. Just come.
Okay.
And then the second thing is, to your point of communication down the line, just personal story real quick. For everyone watching, it is like mid-August right now. I ordered something back in June for Father's Day. It's still yet to come. And I think it's going to come, maybe the last update I got was in September. But it's like terrible. It's so bad. So
yeah, and I mean, some companies are really struggling to get logistics. If you had any iffiness in your logistics before this summer and this spring, then to try and run a system that's a little bit broken right now is incredibly difficult. And so I feel very grateful that we have great suppliers and great support. And I just believe, and so does our whole team, that it's so much better to come forward and say, hey, thank you so much for your order. We're so grateful. It's not going to be ready on this date. It could go this date. And if you want to cancel it, that's fine. Like, we're not also trying not, we don't want to like, oh no, you bought it. You have to keep to that promise. Like, if we can't deliver, that was our promise. And we try to make sure that we try to avoid that wherever we can, just also because any kind of delay or out of stock or any kind of idiosyncratic, any kind of bump in the road takes a lot of extra work and effort, and we prefer that everything goes smoothly. So we try to stay prepared.
Yes. On that note, what is something you weren't prepared for? What is something that really kind of took you guys by surprise in either a good or a bad way?
Well, listen, we're not alone. It would be the COVID pandemic, I think, without question. But for us in particular, Food Huggers has never gone to a trade show and exhibited. So like we'd never had a booth before or anything. And so we were super excited that our very first ever trade show was Expo West. It was going to be Expo West in Los Angeles. And so, we flew in team members from different places, and we built the booth, we were painting table legs, and we were putting up the wall, and we were already in the Anaheim Trade Center assembling the booth for opening the next day when someone came down the aisle and said the show's off. And we were just like, what do you mean off.
Wow, they canceled on the spot. It's not even whatever.
They canceled the day before it opened, which at the time was so, we were like, what? It's canceled? We've traveled here? But when you look back through 2020 hindsight, was that ever the right decision? And I applaud them for having the guts to do it. And so that was probably our biggest, like, wow, we're totally not prepared for this. Because, you know, as a young company and in your first ever trade show, we really geared up for that, what we expected to be like a big hurrah in our first show. And then it just didn't happen. But also to the organization's credit, the people who organized that show is called New Hope. And they put together a $5 million fund to help the companies and exhibitors who had gone and lost business, or they actually, we were given a bit of it. It wasn't it wasn't able to cover all of our expenses, but we did receive some support from that fund for the fact that we had flown and had booked hotels and had done all those things. So I applaud them for having the forethought to cancel it, because that had to be a real gut-wrenching move for them.
Absolutely.
Cancel their show on the day, like they're canceling it the day before. That's a tough decision, and they obviously made the right one. But then also they organized this fund, and that was very much appreciated by companies like us.
When you said that, that is tremendous. That's really good. Again, like, take care of your people, right? So
yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Okay, I could go on and on and on, but I have kind of these 10 questions left at the end. They're meant to be kind of start off maybe a little deep, similar to what we just talked about, and then they get a little bit lighter and more fun. So, Adrienne, let's see. What advice do you have for other D2C brands just starting out? Obviously, you benefited from a lot of experience and connections, things like that. You know, what would you suggest to someone else who maybe wasn't in that position?
I think the easiest thing is you got to check all the details, and people like to say that God is in the details, but it's not in, he or she or they are not in every detail. So sometimes you have to just let something go and get it out there in front of your customers and get the feedback. Because if you wait until you've perfected it, the other way I've heard that said is if you can over polish a snowball, but if you keep polishing the snowball, it just melts away. And so sometimes you just have to get it out there. And if your customers tell you that it's got a flaw, then you can fix it. But you'll never know that it has a flaw if you don't get it out in front of them.
So smart, so smart. Great. What has added the most value to your organization as you've grown?
I mean, Skype, Zoom, things like that, things that allow you to tool. I mean, when we started, it was Skype, but since then it's been Google Hangouts, it's been Zoom, it's been any kind of video conferencing tool that allows us. We're using Loom a lot right now. So anything that lets us, Loom is good. It's like leaving a video voicemail. So you can just show someone your screen, what you're looking at, what you want to try and achieve, and then they get the video link and they can, so it's like a voicemail, but with video.
Really smart. And again, as it pertains to products, that's got to be so helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so what has actually been one of the biggest hurdles you've had to overcome?
I would say some of the biggest hurdles have been, that's a good question. Some of it is logistics. Some of it has been the knockoffs. That's always been a constant battle. And it's had different chapters to it where we've had to fight different people in different cases. And so that might be it. The flattering copycats.
Thanks, no thanks.
Trouble.
Yeah, that's fair. That's certainly a hurdle. That again is ongoing. So let's see.
Yeah.
What do you think your customers love about your products?
I mean, they love that it works.
Yeah.
I think that it works, but also that it's easy to use. Like it's a problem that everybody has, that you can have the half lemon, half onion. We've also done a version for bowls, actually. So like this is like a giant food hugger that just fits on the bowl you have at home. Smart. And so we just make it easy. Like, I think that's part of it. It's like, you just do it. It doesn't need a lot of complicated steps. You don't need to read a user manual. It's like you just put it on and it keeps things fresh. And I think that's what they like.
I agree. Yeah. So again, Big fan. It's so simple. Just like a simple, elegant solution. It's not over-engineered. It's not like overcomplicated. It works and it's easy. So keep doing what you're doing. Okay, great. Let's lighten things up a little bit. What is your morning routine?
Coffee first before anything else. And then I like to take my coffee on a corner of the sofa and I read. And I no Instagram, Facebook, no email, just read for a bit and that's it.
Very good. What is your favorite food?
Ooh. I think a good, that's such a good pizza. I'm gonna have to go with a really good pizza actually. That's a good one.
Coming in. All right. What is one of your hobbies? Reading, clearly. What else?
Yes. Travel. So traveling is a huge thing for us, and I like to do that a lot whenever I can.
Very cool. What is an item on your bucket list?
More travel. Japan is pretty high up there. I've never been. I would love to go. We have a distributor in Japan now, so I have a good excuse. So I'm hoping that I can make it over there sometime soon.
Yeah, fantastic. I hope so for you as well and everyone else. Let's see, do you have any COVID goals? So like, picking up Japanese and language, trying to, make the most of your time.
I had COVID goals. I think now I'm far enough through to realize that
life now.
Who I am is not changing based on this. I'm keeping to my usual habits, I think. But yeah, no, I had a few COVID goals, but I haven't really seen any of them come to fruition. So I am who I am.
You're busy enough and you're doing some good things for the world. So you're good in my book. Let's see, last one, kind of a heavy one again. So what has been one of the most impactful life lessons for you? Again, personally or professionally?
I think impactful is really something that I had to learn repeatedly, but a lot of times when you think that this is a crisis, like your adrenaline spikes and your heart stops and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is a disaster. What a horrifying event. I'm devastated. We survive all of it. Like I think that's also that as more time goes by, it's a lot more difficult to get me panicked. Whereas earlier on, it was something would happen and you'd think, oh my gosh, this is going to be disastrous. Yeah. And now you sort of realize every disaster has the other side of that disaster. Every problem has a solution. And a lot of times you just have to take a breath and be patient and figure your way through it calmly, as opposed to I try to avoid the panic that I used to have.
Yeah, way to go. That is
I try. I'm not saying it doesn't ever happen anymore, but that's what I try to do.
You and your products are an inspiration. This was awesome. I'm like fangirl over here. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for inviting us. This is so flattering. Thank you.
Same here. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye.